To continue, in تذكرة السامع والمتكلم Ibn Jamaah rahimahullah, we have reached in the chapter of the manners of the student of himself. We have reached point number 8 that the author mentions. And he says point number 8 is that he says that he does not use the different foods which will cause him to become foolish or lose his capability of comprehending certain things, and also weakens his senses, such as a sour apple, such as the apples which are sour, or beans, or drinking vinegar. And similarly, should stay away from that which, if one were to use a lot, it will give him phlegm, which will make his brain lose some of his capabilities of comprehending, and also make his body heavier, such as drinking a lot of milk and eating a lot of fish, and similar to that. Now the author here is mentioning certain ways for a student of knowledge. From the ways that a student knowledge attains knowledge is by way of memorization and understanding. So here the author is teaching us that to stay away from certain things which harm and affects one's memorization and one's understanding. So certain things of these that he mentions are by way of tajruba, are by way of experience that they've had. That these certain aspects, they may strengthen your memory or weaken it. And from that which he says that it weakens it and causes you to lose some of your capabilities of comprehension is such as the sour apples and the beans. He says this is what weakens it, and from other than he mentioned. So this here is telling us how to preserve our understandings and also our memory. Then he says it is befitting that you use that which Allah has placed as a means to strengthen your memory and strengthen your mind, such as frankincense and also mastic, in accordance to the custom of the people, and also to eat a lot of raisins and also rose water, he mentions, and similar to that from that which right now is not the time to further explain. A benefit that Shaykh Salih al-Usaymi mentions that everything that is sour affects the brain. It affects the mind. Everything that is sour affects the mind, because that which is sour has an effect upon one's intellect and it weakens it. This is a way of benefit that is known by way of experience, that everything that is sour has an effect on the mind, and it could cause it to weaken the intellect and also affect it. Then he says it is befitting that one stays away from that which causes forgetfulness, such as eating the leftovers of the mice, or to read the signs of the kubur, the signs which are upon the graves, or to enter between two camels tied together, to enter between them, or to keep throwing away lice from one's hair, and similar to that which is known by way of experience. One may say that there's no evidence for this in the Quran and Sunnah, but we say this is the author here mentioning things, and he mentions it is by way of experience. Certain things by way of experience is known that it harms. For the scholars who have studied for a while, they understand that certain things they benefit and certain things they harm. So the reason why he mentioned that these certain things that they harm at the end, why is because that it leads to forgetfulness. Why? Because it occupies your mind. It occupies your mind. If one is constantly busy with throwing lice from his hair and taking it out of his hair, he does not have time to memorize. He does not have time to make his mind firm upon trying to attain and memorize. Rather, he's busy and preoccupied with taking the lice out of his hair. Similarly, reading the signs on the graves. This is something which, as he mentions here, by way of tajruba, by way of experience, is that it harms the brain because it causes your mind to become preoccupied. It causes your mind to become preoccupied. The one who wants to memorize, his mind must be present, and his heart must be present to memorize that which he's trying to memorize, and his mind should not be occupied with something else. Then he says, point number 9, that he does not sleep much, that he lessens his sleep, so long as it does not harm his body and his mind, and he should not increase in his sleep in the day more than 8 hours, in the day and night more than 8 hours, which is 1/3 of the time. If his situation is capable, then he should sleep less than it, and that is okay. And there's no problem with putting himself to rest and making his heart to rest and his mind and his eyesight, if he is in need of that. If he is in need of that to take some rest. There's no problem with it. But he shouldn't sleep more than 8 hours. Now, some of the scholars, they mentioned that, from the Shaykh Salih Al-Usaymi, that generally the young one is in need of more sleep. For anyone who's had children, he knows that the child, the baby, especially, is in need of, at times, even 14 hours of sleep. And similarly, those who get older in age, they need lesser sleep. There's some of the elders, they will tell you to benefit from your sleep, because when you reach your age, you might not sleep much. You might sleep only 4 hours, 5 hours, and that's it. As for the person who is in the middle between the young and the old, then in this case, he tries to sleep in accordance to that which he needs. That which makes him sleep in accordance to that which he needs, which will make his life correct and upright. I mean, if he knows 6 hours of sleep is enough for him, let him sleep 6 hours. If he knows 7 hours of sleep is enough for him, let him sleep 7 hours. If he knows 8 hours is what he needs, then let him sleep 8 hours. But he should not increase upon 8 hours, for that causes laziness. So a person knows himself best. Some, they sleep 6 hours and they're good. They wake up and they are energetic and they have energy, and then maybe they take a nap during the day. Whilst others need 8 hours during the night. So it shouldn't be that some advise others that whether you sleep too much if he sleeps 8 hours, and others you advise you sleep too heavy. Every person knows himself. Some people, they sleep a certain amount of time and they know themselves best. So a person, this goes back to a person himself in accordance to what he is in need of, what his body and his mind is in need of, in regards to giving his body and mind energy to memorize and study. And he said there's no problem with exercising. There's no problem with exercising. For it gives the body energy and refreshes the body. And he says there's no problem also with halal means of marital relations if he is in need of that. For some of the doctors, they said that it lessens the extra fluid in the body and gives us energy, and also clears one's mind if he's in need of that. But he said he should be aware of doing it a lot, as he should be aware of an enemy. And this is something, as we mentioned before, that one takes in accordance with his capability. It does not do too much, and he just does it in accordance with capability. For the one who does it a lot, he says, it weakens one's hearing and his eyesight and his nerves and his digestive system, and other than that, and it causes sicknesses. And he says the doctors, they mention that leaving it off is more befitting, except for a necessity. Leaving it off more befitting for necessity, or due to a cure. And he says there's no problem for a person to rest himself with different affairs if he's in need to, if he feels that be tilting away from seeking knowledge. Now this is important for us to understand. You find some, they occupy themselves, we mentioned last week, with eating and drinking. Others, they may occupy themselves with marital relations. Others, they may occupy themselves with sleep. They sleep a lot. A student should have all of his affairs taking the middle path. Not go to one extreme and also not be negligent. Give himself and his body rest, but do not be extreme in giving it too much rest and making it lazy and affecting your body in the wrong way. Similarly, he should not be from those who do not give his body to do right. And thus he is always tired. He can't memorize, he can't study because he's always tired. Rather, he should give himself, he should understand that his body needs فَإِنَّ لِنَفْسِكَ عَلَيْكَ حَقًّا, your soul has a haqq upon you. وَإِنَّ لِزَوْجِكَ عَلَيْكَ حَقًّا, your spouse has a right upon you. And other than that, so you give every person the due right. فَأَعْطِ كُلَّ ذِي حَقٍّ حَقًّا, give every person his due right. Give yourself his due right, give your family members his due right, and other than that. So we should not eat and drink too much. So a person goes back to these affairs to take the middle path. And if he takes the middle path, he'll be from those who will be granted success. But if he goes into extremes and he becomes negligent, then in reality it will harm him. And there's something well known. Some brothers you may find, they sleep 10 hours and the whole day is ruined because they feel lazy for the rest of the day. Other brothers, they sleep 5 hours, they slept too little, and their whole day is ruined because they're constantly yawning and tired. They need sleep, they need to rest. But because they think that this is the way to gain knowledge, then it harms them. Maybe for a month they may be able to do it, and then after that they leave it off. So a person goes back to the middle path. He does not preoccupy himself too much with these affairs, but he is not also negligent. He rests his body, he gives his body his due right, and he gives his family members their due right, and he gives his friends their due right. But he should not go into extreme and not be negligent, rather he takes the middle path. And he said that some of the major scholars, they used to gather their companions in some of the different places of taking them out for leisure. In some of the days of the year, they used to take them out for fun, to relax and have fun. And they would make jokes with them, with that which has no harm in their religion or their honor. So there's nothing wrong with going out and relaxing your mind and taking it easy with some of your friends. It's not something that should be looked down upon. This is something which is known that the scholars they do. Sometimes they go out to just relax their mind and to go out with their friends. But it should not be done too much. For the one who does it too much, it ends up becoming something of his his customs, where he leaves off seeking knowledge and he just wants to go from this site to that site, traveling. And in reality becomes a traveler or a different profession, and he leaves off seeking knowledge. So he should be from those who takes all of his affairs the middle path, and do not go to extremes and not be negligent. Rather, he should be from those who pay attention to these affairs. For you may find that you start doing these things a bit more than it is needed, it takes you away. And if you find yourself not giving yourself due right, then you find that it harms you rather than benefits you. As we mentioned, for the one who doesn't sleep much, constantly yawning, doesn't want to gain knowledge, he cannot memorize, he cannot benefit. Why? Because he needs sleep, he needs rest. So with this, inshallah, we'll stop and continue next week. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.